Hello mga ka-SoCal, this is Mick, and it's time for another virtual class. It's Thursday, and tonight we are going to talk about Filipino myths and legends, and Dr. Catherine C. Luib is here with us, and we will go over Filipino myths and legends. So if the Greeks had Greek mythology, Filipinos have Philippine mythology as well, and so a lot of our beliefs stem from these myths and legends that we were taught when we were young, and it's like centuries old myths and legends that have stayed with us, and up to this day we still live with these beliefs that we have. And so that's what Dr. Catherine C. Luib of Suyomano is going to talk about. So here she is, Dr. Catherine Luib.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for waiting. We are so excited to feature this topic from Suyomano as a content provider. This is one of our newest topic. And with that, I would like to share actually on my screen here, the Suyomano introduction. Here we go. So there you have it. We have several classes on Filipino culture, and tonight we're going to be talking about our Philippine mythologies, our folk lore, and our myths and legends. Are you guys ready? Okay, let me share with you now the presentation. So welcome to our class. Let us first define myth, legend, folklore. So as you can see, there is a difference between the three, slight, yes. Myth is a traditional story, especially one concerning the early history of people, explaining the natural or social phenomena. And sometimes it does involve supernatural beings and events.
Catherine?
Legend, yes.
Hi, you may want to share your screen.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's go back. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. Myth, legend, folklore. As I was mentioning about myth, the difference now of legend is that it is a traditional story popularly regarded as history but not authenticated. Then there's the folklore, which is the traditional beliefs, customs, and stories of a community passed through the generations by word of mouth. So this is the definitions we have between myth, legend, and folklore. Now, for all the myths and legends, there's so many really, right? Because we have more than 7,000 islands of the Philippines. In fact, depending on the rise and tide, we have 7,100 to 7,000, even up to what? Sometimes 600, right? 7,600 more. But of those islands, about 2,000 really are inhabited. And of what we're sharing in Suyomano, we're going to be about these 8 major regions: the Bicolano, Igorot, Ilocano, Mindanaoan, Palaweño, Kapampangan, Tagalog, and Visayan folklore, myths, and legends. We actually have our first series on the Bicol area. The Bicolano will be our first series, but tonight we're going to give you a little bit of a buffet of everything. So you get to sample one of each. We're going to actually go and look into each region. But before we do, let's explain a little bit more about this whole mythology. Now, our mythology in the Philippines includes the deities, the creation stories, of course, these mythical creatures, some very scary, some not scary, and some helpful. And then many of them coming from these so many different indigenous tribes. We also have here the understanding of Diwatas and Anitos, okay? And one of the greatest epic creation stories that we have in the Philippines actually comes from the Bicol area. And we'll go into that more a bit later. What we're gonna do now is have you sit, lay down, relax, close your eyes. I'm gonna tell you a story. And with your eyes closed, relax your body. We're gonna use your imagination. So it's just as you would how we gather around the fireplace and we're gonna use our imagination. Are you ready? Okay. Thousands and thousands of years ago, there was a time when the space occupied by the universe was vacant. The moon, the sun, the stars, the earth were conspicuous by their absence. Only the vast expanse of water and sky above it could be seen. The kingdom of the sky was under the rule of the great god Langwit, while the water was under the sovereignty of the god Tubigan. Langwit had a daughter called Dagat, the sea, who became the wife of Paros, the wind, who was the son of Tubigan. 4 children were born to Dagat and Paros, 3 of whom were boys called Daga, Aldao, and Bulan, and 1 girl called Bituon. Daga, a strong man, possessed a body of a rock. Aldao, a jolly fellow, had a body of gold. Bulan, a copper-made man, was a weakling, while the beautiful Bituon was made of pure silver. After the death of their father, Paros, Daga, being the eldest son, succeeded in the control of the winds. Soon after, Dagat, the mother, died, leaving her children under the care of the grandparents, Langwit and Tubigan. After assuming control of the winds, Daga became arrogant and ambitious, desiring to gain more power. So he induced his younger brothers to attack the kingdom of Langwit. At first they refused. At Daga's anger, Bulan and Aldao were constrained to join him in his plot. Preparations were made, and when everything was ready, they set out on their expedition and began to attack the gates of the sky. Failing to open the gates, Daga let loose the winds in all directions so that the gate was destroyed and the brothers succeeded in gaining entrance. But they were met by the enraged Langwit, who set out 3 bolts of lightning after them. All of them were struck by lightning. The copper body of Bulan melted into a ball. So also was the golden body of Aldao. Daga's body fell into the sea and became what is now the earth. Their sister, Bituon, on discovering the absence of her brothers, went out to look for them. But upon meeting the enraged god Langwit, Bituon was also struck by another bolt of lightning which broke her body into many pieces. Then Langwit descended from the sky and called Tubigan and accused her of helping their grandsons in their attack on their kingdom. But Tubigan defended herself, saying she had no knowledge about the attack, for she was asleep far down in the sea. Tubigan succeeded in pacifying Langwit, and the two regretted and wept over the loss of their grandchildren. Since they could not revive them, they gave each body a light. Tubigan then planted a seed which grew into a bamboo tree. From one of its branches came a man and a woman, who became the first parents of the human race. 3 children were born to them. One, called Maisong, invented a fish trap. One day he caught a very, very big, grotesque-looking whale that he thought it was a god, so he ordered his people to worship it. The people gathered and began to pray, but no sooner than they had begun, when gods from the sky appeared and commanded Maisog to throw the whale to the water and worship no one but the gods. But Maisog was not afraid and defied the gods. Langwit, the king of the sky, struck Maisog with lightning and stunned him. Then he scattered the people over the earth as a punishment. In this way, the earth was peopled. Maisog's body was blackened by the lightning, and all his descendants are black. But Maisog's son was carried to the north and became the parent of the white people. His other children were brought to the south, where the sun was hot and it scorched their bodies so that all their people were of brown color. And the other people were carried to the east, where they had to feed on clay due to scarcity of food. And because of this diet, their descendants became the yellow-colored people. This is the way the earth came into being. So let's open our eyes. You can see now that the creation story from this Bicolano region is very, very rich. And moving on, we're going to go into, from each region of the 8 that we discussed, that Suyomano will be providing content on. First one is going to be the creature in Palaweno mythology. So this one, actually, this is from the Bicol, the Anduduno. The Anduduno in Bicolano folklore, this is an aswang that actually resides outside, waiting outside for someone who's dying. And the Anduduno was believed to be waiting for that victim. And it has a long snake-like tongue, said to be licking the person until that person finally dies. So can you imagine that most of these creatures that we understand in our folklore, our myths and legends, are all scary creatures. Imagine also back in the day with our ancestors being in the dark, without electricity. This is not the modern time. So everything was dark. And the sounds in the forests, in the jungle, and everything around made them more fearful. Could it be that the Anduduno is something that was created by the mind of a fearful person, and quite perhaps many, because many didn't have electricity? It's a good thought. Now, the Anduduno was known to be waiting sometimes underneath the house or outside the house. Pretty scary, especially when you have a loved one that's dying, and for the loved one themselves. But once a person dies and has been buried, they say that the Anduduno digs up and then eats the corpse. So you see there's this image. This is made actually in charcoal. I drew all the photos coming up to share with you, and you can see the tombstone and it digging. So this creature is wanting to eat the corpse. So this is the mythical creature that's from the Bicolano region, Anduduno. Let's move on. How about in the Igorot? So Igorot, we have the Alan. And the Alan, you can see here, has wings. So Alan is one of those mysterious race of small, deformed, half human, half flying creature. They have elongated fingers and feet that's said to be pointing backwards. And they hang upside down from the trees. As horrific as it sounds, they are not harmless as you would think. Now, they are even rumored to adopt children who are lost, who have been lost in the jungle. They are said to procreate also by collecting menstrual blood, aborted fetuses after birth. These are the unwanted things from humans. And then they captured this, they form then the Alan children. So the skin on the face, they say, looks like an old person. And they say that the Alan has long arms and fingers pointing again back. So it's very creepy looking. And it's said that in other places, the Alan is as large as people, but they have wings and they can fly. Their toes are back, again pointing back, and their fingers are pointing back from their wrists. So they are said to live in the dark depths of the forest. This is one of the creatures in the Igorot mythology. So if you want to learn more about our creatures from that lineage, then please join us for future Suyomano. Let's continue. We have another creature. This one is from the Ilocano mythology. So one creature we're going to go through in each region, the pugot. The pugot is a nocturnal spirit, right? Night, comes out at night. It's said to be in a form of a giant, a black figure. And this terrifying but not harmful as well. It likes to sit on top of the tree smoking a large cigar and then disappearing as a ball of fire. And so they say the pugot is either in large trees or in abandoned houses. Now, various ethno groups in northern Luzon are known as pugot or pugut. Uh, then the Ilocano term came known as goblin or forest spirit. This is a colloquial term for those with darker complexions, as they called. The earliest belief of the pugot spirit is found in Ilocano myths as the spirit of the ancestral aborigines, the etnas, the dark-colored skin, who are guarding treasures. Here's another creature. This one is from the Mindanao mythology, the buso. The buso is a general term used by the Bagobo for any spirit of disease. They are malevolent. They're not good. These are spirits of the dead. These are the evil, supernatural that harm humans. And they are said to eat human corpses. They also inflict disease to hasten, quicken the mortality and the deaths of people. They drink their blood and they also chew on their bones. The Bagobo people, despite the fearsome nature of the buso, offer ceremony and prayers for them. The purpose is to gain their blessings. So there's altars and shrines of for the buso in the forest area. And then they say Mount Apo is considered a den of the worst buso of all. Now there are two types. There's the anthropomorphic, there's a human looking, and there's a zoomorphic, an animal looking. So in this case, you see this photo. This again is a artwork using charcoal. And I did this to show you that this is the kilat. Kilat is a gigantic, said to be a gigantic horse or carabao, and it runs in the sky during the storm. When it has a sound, its voice, its sound is the thunderclap. And as it gets closer, it gets louder and louder. And the more it is expected to descend to the earth, the more people say that the kilat brings sickness. So this is from the Mindanaoan mythology. The other one now is from the Palaweño mythology. This, we say, is the Bianyonan. So anytime you see the NGO is ngo sound, right? So it's a little hard to say. But this creature has a small frame body, human body, dark skin, kinky dark hair, and also feet pointing backwards. They're said to be found climbing trees, even tall trees. And it can also transform into a human or a pig. It will also disguise itself, sneaking into the village, stealing pigs, or even little children for consumption. When villagers detect a rotting smell, they know that this creature is near. They will light a large fire, which is believed to ward it off. So it doesn't like fire. And it devours every part of the human they steal from the village. So everything. And then they leave the bones and the victim hanging in a tree. So very creepy, especially if you're living in a village and this creature is out there. And then at night, you want to make sure you're not traveling out at night, right? So this is, again, some of the things to think about. What were our ancestors thinking during their time without the conveniences of street light and lamps? So everything was really dark and things were more imaginative, perhaps. Who knows? Maybe so. Another creature now is from the Kapampangan mythology. And this is the Pugut Mamuk. And this is next to the Aswang. The Pugut Mamuk may be the most well-known Philippine boogeyman from the Pampanga region. It has no head. And like the more famous Pugut, it has a few differences. This one actually is either said to be originally from a spirit of a beheaded priest, no head, or that this is the flesh and bone eating monster. They love children. Okay, so this is a very creepy monster that has no head and the body is crawling. So if you imagine this type of creature crawling with long nails and this monstrosity without a head, but that the actual top is the mouth in which they devour the children. This can be very, very scary, very traumatizing. So this Pugot Mamo is one of the well-known boogeyman from the Pampanga region, from the Kapampangan mythology. Now we have the Tagalog mythology of the Sirena. So Sirenas are, we say, mermaids. And in Philippine mythology, they're found in the areas of water. So where it may be the ocean, the river areas, or the waterfalls. But this Sirena is often portrayed as a guardian. They can be vicious, they can be nice. Some fishermen, they can help, some they can drown. And in the Tagalog mythology, this Serena is often a vicious one and preferring as well eating of the little children instead of the humans, the adults. Now we have our last, which is from the Visayas. This is the Fantasmas. Now this is going to be from the Visayan mythology, the apparition of the madres or the padres in white clothing, and they appear at night. They are said to be walking in the streets and small trails and leading into barrios where there's deserted places. They look as if they have that far away glance, nothing there in the eye, as if there's like they're not quite there but wistful looking. So when someone meets a phantasma, it is believed that they're not gonna harm you if you don't block their way, if you're not in their way. So it sometimes is where people see them from a distance. Often they say the phantasma appears to a girl as a padre and then to a boy as a madre. So again, they're all wearing in white. So something that I have to point out is again the concept of the fear-based mentality. What were our ancestors thinking? Could it be that these apparitions had to do also with the fear of the colonization of the white people? And as groups of us were fearful of them, in the mind we create as well, right? Oftentimes the phantasmas are associated with like the white lady, those that have died or murder or suicide, but these are things to think about as far as where they are coming from. Are they truly from the figment of our imagination, or could they actually be as well? And it could be both. So now those are all the 8 places, 8 mythologies, places, and 8 sharing with you 8 of those creatures. I will share with you now more about some of my personal experience with encantos. Are you ready? Encantos are enchanted ones. This is a tawas. The tawas ng papel is one of our diagnostic tools. Before x-rays, MRIs, CT scans, and functional labs, we were able to have ancient spirit technology to see into the unseen. And what our ancestors did was use tawas. There are many forms, but this one is tawas ng papel. And this was a diagnostic for the Enchanted River. Have you heard of the Enchanted River? The Enchanted River actually we have in the Philippines, and it's said to have beautiful waters and mysterious things there, creatures, encantos, and also sirenas. So if you can see here with me, this was a diagnostic to show if there are any encantos in that area, and that if they are there to reveal themselves. So you can see here, tawas ng papel. This actually is, as I read it to you, this is trees with legs. So there are actually trees that have legs and walk in the Enchanted River area. Then you can see here, if you turn a little bit your head, this is actually the pelvic. This is the pubic. And then this is the womb. And there's something there. This is the creature with a head here and also on the other side. So there is shapeshifters. Yes, shapeshifters in the enchanted river. So as they say in the legends, when you meet some strange people or creatures, it could be a shapeshifter. And you can see here two faces. Now here you could see is a tail, okay? So there is a fish tail here. So what does that mean? It could mean that there may be actually, yes, a sirena. So because that was a maybe, we did another tawas to confirm. And this shows is a mermaid, if you can see it here, with the tail going here. Kind of blurry, but she is near to a cave opening. So amazing! The Enchanted River truly does have a lot of mythical creatures that are very real and not quite mythical after all. The next one is actually a case of an encanto that had plagued one of our patients. And to determine if that was the case, we used the diagnostic to find out the root cause of the patient's problems. And interestingly, this is the encanto. She revealed herself. She looks like a feminine princess. At the same time, she looks like an ostrich with wings. And this is her head and this is her hair. She's very feminine. So we were told later that this encanto actually does like to possess the bodies of birds. And these birds are, or body of one particular brown bird. And the same brown bird is always knocking, tapping at this patient's window. So interesting, right? So when it comes time to also health and balancing of health, we must understand our place with nature and all of nature's children and beings. The last thing I'm going to show you here is an encanto that is flying. So you can see here this face, and it has an elfish looking hat, and it's flying in the air. It's actually playing with another encanto. It looks like a round rock, and this is the face and head right here. Very cool, right? So, do encantos really exist? In this case, these are the duendes of the Philippines. Yes. Now, we are going to wrap up. But if you have questions, we will entertain one or two with the time we have left. And for those that are really excited now, please do join our Suyomano online platform. Not only do we have classes with our Ancient Philippine Mythology, we have classes with our Indigenous Medicine and our Indigenous Script by Bayim. We also have classes in food. So for those who like cooking, or for those who want to know more about history and martial arts, we have all of those. So if you'd like to take a photo of this screen, and you can also follow us on these platforms. Let's take a few of your questions now.
Hi, Kat. I'm back.
Yes.
I don't see myself. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I have a question. So when does tawas happen? Like, when do they actually perform the act of making tawas? Or how do you call it? Like, in Tagalog, it's like nagtatawas, right? So when would someone need one of those?
So tawas can be a diagnostic tool to see into what they want to know more about. This can be things in the seen, in the natural, and these can be things that's unseen and in the unnatural world. You can use that to diagnose mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual problems, challenges, conditions.
Okay, and do you have any classes that delve deeper into Philippine mythology?
Yes, we actually have that. And as a content provider, our first course is going to be more into the Bicolano myths and legends.
That is so awesome. And since you're a very very good storyteller, and all of us watching, especially in the YouTube live chat, we're all amazed at how um good of a narrator you are. Have you ever considered voiceover work?
Oh, well, yeah. Actually, if it comes my way, I will not turn it down for sure. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, that is awesome. And where can people find you? Where can I know there's the Suyomano website. So can you tell us briefly how you got in touch with them and how you ended up working with them?
Sure. Suyomano is a newest platform that we have. It's an educational online global platform that provides everything on Filipino culture. So the CEO is actually a very good friend of mine, and she is very aware of my passion projects and in the courses that I was invited to, which were the three courses on the indigenous medicine, Hilot, and our indigenous script by Bayin, as well as our mythologies. I was then brought in to do the speaking and content providing.
Okay, so a little bit more on the personal side. So I read your bio and I know that you're a chiropractor and you also practice indigenous medicine, Hilot. And how do you connect the two, like being a chiropractor and doing a Hilot, and how has that evolved? How has that made you evolve as a storyteller and a proponent of Philippine culture?
Yeah, so everything is actually a connection. As a Filipina Chinese, I would say that I was called to this work. And really, everything that I have done is a calling. Not many people know that our indigenous medicine, which we call now is the standard name Hilot, although it goes by many names, many don't know that bone setting was actually part of it. So naturally, I gravitated even before knowing that. I gravitated to the chiropractic, which is the art, science, and philosophy of chiropractic, refined bone setting. Bone setting was always a part of every indigenous group throughout the globe, but that chiropractic has made it now this trifecta, this perfected body. As well, in the traditional Chinese medicine, I think also with that, I just gravitated. So it's something in the blood. And I would say this that the more that I went into my health and healing journey, the more that the memories within the DNA was activated. And these memories, which science can now actually agree with, these are memories that are ancestral. And so the work that I've now continued to do, which is more about the remembering of our medicine and the reconnecting to ancestral wisdom and the knowledge that our ancestors had and the callback to the indigenous, really is all integrated. Um, the love that I have for chiropractic and the acupuncture, I would say, is truly that within my DNA. And even in my work of going into past life memories, I can remember that I was also a healer many times. So naturally, picking up in this lifetime all of these things about medicine and health and all of these natural, holistic was just very fluid and very smooth and just very natural for me.
That is so awesome. I mean, that's so awesome how everything, like from these different um like different studies, different parts of Philippine culture, and how everything kind of just connected through one person, which is you. That is so awesome. And one thing I'm actually interested in, and you touched on it a little bit, is past life regression. And so that's something that I personally want to find out about myself.
Are many, many different techniques for sure. I would say this to every Filipino watching: go back, return back to the medicine of our motherland. And that is before this colonized mental frontier and medicine that we have now. Go back even before all of that. Go back to the ancient ways and experience what our ancestors experienced. And you know what? I will say this, we welcome our doors for all Filipinos to experience Hilot. We are actually, the Luib Health Center is the first integrated medicine and holistic wellness center in the USA to offer and promote fully our Filipino indigenous medicine Hilot. And our patients have also remembered several of their memories through the activation with Hilot. So it's been a very powerful ally for people's health and healing.
And where is your clinic located?
Sure. So the Luib Health Center is located in San Diego. We're located centrally off of Mira Mesa Boulevard exit, aka Manila Mesa, and we are in the Scripps area, Scripps Ranch area.
That is awesome. So thank you so much for being with us in celebration of Filipino American History Month. That was such a spectacular presentation. It's very dynamic and you're such a great storyteller. And I just wanted to say, like, before we go, that tomorrow we have the last of our SoCal Pinoys virtual classes for October, and that's Ikaw ay sapat, managing COVID-19 and other stressors. So Amanda Nicole Dumagindin, she's a Riverside County worker and mental health practitioner, and she's going to be talking about how we can manage our stresses while we are still in the pandemic and in the lockdown. So that's coming up tomorrow, Friday at 7:00 p.m., and that's in honor of National Mental Health Month, which is October at the same time as Filipino American History Month. And tomorrow, guys, don't forget, we have karaoke at 8:00. Actually, it's at 8:30, and we're going to have a virtual Halloween costume contest from 8:30 to 9:30. So if you guys want to join the costume contest, you have to log in to our Zoom. Arvin Pasamba and Edwin Geronimo are going to be sharing the link to Zoom, and singing is not required. You don't have to sing. I know it's a karaoke session, but you don't have to sing to be part of the costume contest. And so we're going to be posting pictures of the contestants for the members to vote on, and we'll be announcing the winners, one winner on Saturday, and the Hi-Fi Hedgehog gift shop is giving away a prize. It's one gift box set. So that's going to be really exciting. It's a surprise. And so see you guys tomorrow, same time, 7:00. And yeah, have a great evening. Bye. Thanks, Kat.
Thank you for having me. See you online at Suyomano.
I'll see you later.